Welcome back. Jaya Madhava Kunjabiyari Gopi Janababa Giriwandhari Asodanandana Vraja Janarandana Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Satyashishimar Divine Grace, Founder of Iskana Bhai Charanavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Granthara Shrimadbhagavatam Ki Their Most Merciful Lordship Shri Shri Harikunja Bihari Ki Jai Shri Jagannath Shri Baladev Maya Subhadra Ki Jai Shri Nataji Shri Balagopal Ki Jai Shri Shri Gaunitai Ki Jai Nitai Go Premanand. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the Lord Spirit of Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. We are reading from Shrimadbhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 12, Text 31. Is it 31?
31 and 32.
31 has no purport, so I will just go through myself, the Sanskrit and the English, and then we can do 32 together. Saraja putro vaparidhe asu sukla ivodpa. Sorry. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam namaskritya
Narayanam namaskritya
naram chaiva narottamam
Naram Shaiva Narottamam
devam saraswatim vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
to jayamudiraye
Tato Jaramudire
nasta prayeshu badreshu
Nastya Prayasha Padreshu
nityam bhagavata sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
bhagavate uttama shloke
Bhagavati Uttamastoke
bhaktir bhagavati naistiki.
Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki.
Reading once again from Canto 1, Chapter 12, text 31 and 32. I will do 31, and we will do 32 together. Saraja putro vrithe asusukla ivodupa apuriyamana pitribhi kastabir ivaso navham. Translation and purport. Translation by His Divine Grace of Bhaktivinoda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. As the moon, in its waxing fortnight, develops day after day, so the royal prince Parikshit very soon developed luxuriantly under the care and full facilities of his guardian grandfathers. Text 32. Yakshamano Swamedena Yakshamano Swamedena Yati Droha Jiyasaya Nati Droha Jiyasaya Raja Labdha Dano Dadhya Raja Labdha Dano Dadhya Nanyatra Kara Dandayo Nanyatra Kara Dandayo Yakshamano Swamedena Nati Droha Jasaya Raja Labdha Dano Dadhya Nanyatra Karas Dandayo Yakshamano Swamedena Yati Droha Jihasaya Raja Labdha Dano Dadhya Nanyatra Kar Dandayo. Please chant. Yakshamano Swamedena Yati Droha Jihasaya Raja Labdha Dano Dadhya Nanyatra Karadandayo Yakshamano Swamedena Yati Droha Jihasaya Raja Labdha Dano Dadhya Nanyatra Karadandayo
Yakshamano Swamedena
Yakshamano Swamedena Nati Droha Jihasaya Raja Labdha Dano Dadhya Nanyatra Karadandayo Yakshamana desiring to perform Ashwamedena by the horse sacrifice ceremony Yati Droha fighting with kinsmen Jihasaya for getting free Raja King Yudhisthira,
King Yudhisthira,
Labdadana,
Labdadana,
for getting some wealth,
for getting some wealth,
Dadyao,
Dadhyam,
thought about it,
thought about it,
Nananyatra,
Nanyatra,
not otherwise,
not otherwise,
Kadadandayo,
Kadandayo,
taxes and fine.
taxes and fines,
Yakshamano sumedena jati droha jihasaya rajalabda danodadya nanatra kadadandayo. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace by Charnaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Just at this time, King Yudhisthira was considering performing a horse sacrifice to get freed from sins incurred from fighting with kinsmen. But he became anxious to get some wealth, for there was no surplus funds outside of fines and tax collection. Please repeat. Just at this time, King Yudhisthira was considering performing a horse sacrifice to get freed from sins incurred from fighting with kinsmen. But he became anxious to get some wealth, for there were no surplus funds outside of fines and tax collection. Purport by His Divine Grace, Abhaya Charanavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. I'll repeat the translation. Just at this time, King Yudhisthira was considering performing a horse sacrifice to get freed from sins incurred from fighting with kinsmen. But he became anxious to get some wealth, for there were no surplus funds outside of fines and tax collection. As the Brahmanas and Vipras had a right to be subsidized by the state executive head had the right to collect taxes and fines from the citizens. After the Battle of Kurukshetra, the state treasury was exhausted. Therefore, there was no surplus fund except the fund from tax collection and fines. Such funds were sufficient only for the state budget. Having no excess fund, the king was anxious to get more wealth in some other way in order to perform the horse sacrifice. Maharaj Yudhisthira wanted to perform this sacrifice under the instruction of Bhishmadev. Om Jnanatamarandasya Niranjana Shivataya Chakshushinmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Now here we're seeing the pertinence of the application of Shrimadbhagavatam to government principles. Here we're seeing how that the taxes collected and fines collected are for local use, right? But that which is given, which I was talking about the other day in class, when they perform a fire sacrifice or a yajna, a horse sacrifice, the whole community gathered together for this sacrifice to be done. And because he is going to be emperor of the world, Maharaj Parikshit, who is coming, and partly this is a cleansing as well for the earth and for everybody involved in that war, that fratricidal war. Now, from one perspective, the human perspective is that everybody involved in the war were heroic and they were all going to get heroic rewards, going to heaven and all like this. But in Yudhisthira's heart, his involvement in it, we can see the revelation of his mind, the way he is feeling, that he needs to find forgiveness and cleansedness from God with the form of a sacrifice. And so, see, this is not the way government is being conducted right now. And with humanity divided as it is, so we have so many groups against each other, but then what to speak, you have believers and non-believers. And with believers, they have in their minds established laws and principles that they know are for the guidance of all of humanity. But then you have on the other side people who are also involved in creating laws in government that are totally against some of the laws that God has established as guidance for his people. Therefore, through this observance in my life, I've seen that for humanity to proceed with a much more rapid progression towards the outcome of every single philosophy there is in the world, there should be cities set up and established based on the principles and philosophies of all of those teachings. And those cities would be housed under one roof. And those people within the confines of those areas that are perfecting their lives for the production of food, then they would use that art and craft to help feed all of the city people. Those who are involved in the ideas of producing that which we need as coverings for clothing, that would be provided by those who are involved in that craft. And when human beings, under those circumstances, come to find how little effort is required for existence, because right now, the way human society is conducting itself, I don't care what government you go to, existence requires 6 to 8 hours of labor a day. If you're going to have a house over your head, if you're going to have children, if you're going to have hospitalization protection, if you're going to have protection for your house if it burns down, if you're going to have transportation to get to work, all these things are demanding human beings to have to work and work as slaves to fulfill the basic needs, the present day needs of quote unquote modern society. And in all of our endeavors to make ourselves technologically advanced, still we are finding ourselves bound by the laws of society, governing society, and our abilities to function within it just to exist. A man will work 72 hours in the mine, come home to have enough time to recuperate from the amount of energy he put out into working in that mine, to spend time for a couple of hours with his family, and then have to go do the same thing. This is not human life. It's not what it's meant to be for. And people are missing out on relationships by this. So by cutting themselves off from a relationship with the Supreme Person, in effect, by the demand, see, when we talk about the means we have of being able to keep our regulative principles as the chanting of the holy names of Krishna, and in that belief, we also are holding the philosophy that it requires 2 hours a day of concentration in order to break those binds that the material energy has upon us as souls. And there is no process that I have seen in the world giving human beings this ability to do that. And see, once we as devotees see Srila Prabhupada's foresight into the future to the things that are coming. I was telling a few devotees the other day, I came to find out. I've been preaching this for the last 50 years about the realignment of the Earth's axis coming. And they are saying from the Hopi Nation, even though this is secret, just like we have confidential teachings, they have secret teachings as well. And they were restricted from being able to practice their form of religion by the people that came here rebelling against a king who was forcing them to be ruled by his religion, and yet they come here and defying their very privilege that they're seeking to obtain for themselves by wiping out the ability for others whose country, whose land this was, believed to have been sacred land by them. And then we expect the outcome of that society to be a peaceful nation. And we did experience a tremendous amount of peace. We saved the world, we might say our forefathers saved the world from dominators of the world who would like this position of emperor. All these wars are being fought by the mentalities of the leaders who want to control the world themselves. That's what all these wars are being fought about. And see, this Bhagavatam is revealing the type of requirement for a person to be able to hold such a position. So without Bhagavatam, human beings don't have really any evidence of what kind of qualities human beings are required to be able to hold such a position, and how to put God in the ruling position. And that's what the qualified person does, is he doesn't rule it himself. He goes by the guidelines God has set down to rule the planet with. And thereby the world can experience the peace and happiness and prosperity that Maharaj Yudhisthira is revealing that will be brought about. See, the poverty now, we might say, just existing is what he's saying. They're in a state of being. They're not in a state of prosperity, right? But that's what he's trying to overcome. It's not because existing is good, but emergencies happen. Emergencies happen from that side that does not believe there is a God, which always happens against those that believe there is a God in the histories that we've seen. And we have so many histories of that occurring because there are demons and there are devotees. And as long as there are both, and there will be both, because this planet is made for the resolving of those past experiences, and Krishna's made this planet to be a portal now to the spiritual world. But still, this place is like a prison house. And all of us on it are prisoners, but we don't know that. And we're trying to make this the permanent residence. But that doesn't take away from the fact that we can make it a more beautiful place to be. And when the Earth's axis is realigned, because we have evidence from the descriptions given to us about such a yuga, that at one time this planet was of a heavenly nature, and it was a paradise. The demigods would come to visit. They came to visit Krishna and have records of that. And what we are learning about them is preliminary to what they got from Krishna when he was here. Just imagine. Now, we are human beings, right? Hearing about pastimes that went on with other human beings of our same nature, similar, even though they are the most advanced of our own kind. But Krishna's having, I want to say intercourse, discussion with people of other planetary systems whose obvious abilities reach far beyond what we have technologically and every otherwise. And so they, being far more advanced in their knowledge of God even than we are. And now, without this knowledge of this alien intercourse with human beings of the past, then mankind is seeing them as enemy. Then all these nations of the world that are experiencing quote unquote UFOs, right? A lot of them are coming from inside our own planet. But if they are foolish enough to think that they can approach these as though they have the ability to control them, they're going to be blown out of existence. And this is the fault. This is the problem with the false ego. The false ego accredits itself with abilities that it doesn't have. And so this thing about wanting to conquer other planets, we don't have the right to do that. Srila Prabhupada brings out in the books, they thought, or they had convinced people that they had gone to the moon. But now so many people are coming forth that were involved in the production of the video that was made of this thing. And so many errors are evident in the production of that moonwalk, with there being footsteps and everything else on there, that they were on the earth making this thing. And Srila Prabhupada pointed that out back then when everybody was cheering and mankind had made one giant step progress into the future. But see, that is why Srila Prabhupada uses a statement, the cheaters and the cheated. And what Bhagavatam is giving to us is the ability to not be cheated anymore. The ability to grasp the absolute truth about every subject matter in our lives. Because Krishna consciousness, coming from the Supreme Person himself, who has been with every manifestation in every universe, of every kind of people, of every race of people that there is, of every relationship we can think of, and every argument there is, every philosophical conclusion being made. Krishna has been there through all of that, and it is he who is sharing this body with us. And so now, this process that he's giving us is for us to be able to receive that communication that he's giving to us through this chanting and the hearing of the sound of his name. So I've been asking Krishna for some time now about this form of deity worship, because I'm taking so much part in it. Krishna is giving me an understanding that just like we pass around photographs of one another, right? Krishna is leaving an authentic form of himself for us not to have to conjure in our minds some imagination which would be different to everyone. We had no reasoning, a basis to be able to found our conceptions upon, then we would all be forming in our minds different conceptions. So Krishna gives us a solid foundation to be able to know what he looks like, what his features are like, in the form that he came to give us. That doesn't mean he's restricted to that form. And there are many forms of Krishna that we don't have account of either. This Krishna consciousness is expanding in this universe, expanding on this planet, expanding at a more rapid rate than we can understand this planet because of what is going on individually in this temple now. But there are across the whole world. And see, from what I'm understanding about Lord Chaitanya, Krishna distinctly tells Arjuna to remember him in that form playing the flute. Now, Lord Chaitanya hasn't come yet, but Lord Chaitanya doesn't say to remember him, does he? We don't see this as an account in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Because by remembering Lord Chaitanya, you'll be joined with Lord Chaitanya Sankirtan, which is within this universe. So see, Krishna is giving a specific direction even about which incarnation of his to meditate upon. Because each of the different meditations that we take in concentration of who God is brings us to that specific place. And that goes on in the spiritual world as well. Because in that realm, that spiritual universe removed from the material universe is an unlimited amount of planets as large as our universe is, each of which are controlled by a ruler who is an incarnation of Krishna, who has as their subjects those that have developed that love for that particular manifestation of Krishna and that particular form. So it's very easy to fall in love with any manifestation of Krishna. You look at the picture of Sadbhuja, right? And he has a water pot, which he carries as a Kamandala, like a form of renuncia. And he has on his other hand, which sharing with that is like a danda, right? Which is a form of renunciation as well. So then he also has a flute. And he also has a bow and arrow. So that is a manifestation of Krishna revealed to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Now, when we look at Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's life, this is revealed in Chaitanya Charitamrita. He was a Mayavadi. And amongst his followers who were all looking to be completed in the impersonal knowledge of the Supreme, which is the force of God that is emanating from the personal, the being of Krishna's personal body, but they are seeing the force of Krishna as more powerful than the person. And most of them don't even know Krishna, the name Krishna, as that designating person of God or the Supreme Person. Although there are some that also see Krishna as the best person, but still that the power is greater than the person. So this revelation to all of us that are studying these books is given so that we can know specifically who amongst all of Krishna's manifestations, there's Lord Buddha, Gautam Buddha, there's Lord Chaitanya, there's Kapila Dev, and in some cases people are believing Lord Brahma is actually God, the creator form. Then we have Mahavishnu, who is also creator form, from whose bodies the universes are emanating, from whose bodies also in this universe the planets are emanating. So, being brought out here is the significant importance of gaining qualification, which is also what this process of Krishna consciousness is all about. Because by simply following the principles, and when you're with a group of people, 100, 200 people who are all doing it together, and you're all sharing the lifetimes together, you're eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner together, you're sharing stories together, you're reading, studying from the same books together. This is what the movement was when I first came. Then it's more family. And see, as we are becoming more like churches are, and we have everybody as individuals having careers and professions for themselves, then it becomes a different experience. The once on Sunday experience is totally different when you have separate aspirations for a career that goes into the extensions that the material world is having. But see, those positions also have their place in Krishna consciousness, because that's how the society, the general mass of society, will be won over, so to speak, when they can see that ordinary people are also taking up. It's not just a bunch of fanatics with funny clothes on that are taking up this singing and dancing and playing these funny cymbals on the street, you know. Actually, ordinary people are doing it too. But see, these cultural things that we take as so much importance, which now in Kali Yuga is elevated even more when they talk about fashion. You have the leader of the United States entering a plane, going to engage in a conversation with another foreign leader of another country. And what does the news talk about? What style of clothes his wife was wearing, you know? And they will make designations about whether this is favorable or unfavorable, whether she was wearing a particular type of shoes or whether she had the newest style. This is all insanity. It is insanity to a person who is full of knowledge and can see with sane vision what matter of character that these people are supposed to be in, who are supposed to be the best of society, to be free from entanglements of the material energy, to be able to see without prejudice in any way, to be unbiased. They don't have it. Society is totally mixed up in its value system altogether. There is no value system that is being taught in schools. It has to be taught from grade 1. And in such a loving way, to know that God is the original Father. And his extension of love is the original Mother. Shrimadbhagavatam. See, and the only way society is going to know that as a whole is by applying these principles given to us for all of society to become a united force and engage in these sacrifices being given to us that provide so much benefit, then we can have more than we need. More than we need. When it says, you know, advice given by scriptural teachings, if someone asks you to do a little bit of help, do more than they ask. Go out of your way and do a little bit more. See, if everybody's doing that, there would be more than we need. Would be more than we need. Srila Prabhupada says, leave the kitchen a little bit cleaner than it was when you came in. If everybody did that, wow, there would be no need to clean it. Everything would be always clean.
Dave probably would be out of a job.
Yeah. I didn't hear what he said.
He said Dave probably would be out of a job.
Oh, Dave, right. But there would be more jobs to do. There's never a running out of devotional service that can be done. You know? And so when all these other... See, Lord Chaitanya, we see, and the cleaning of the Gundicha temple, he let all the devotees clean, and then he went in and cleaned and found more dirt than they did. So that was evidence of Lord Chaitanya's taking pleasure in our working together and making everything a joyous activity, working together for the same reason, for the same cause, to benefit society as properly given for it to make spiritual advancement and to become free from its attachments to the world. Right now, for the most general mass of people, the attachments they have to the material world is what they're looking at as beneficial to them, isn't it? That we gain possessions of things in this world, we think of that as great advancement, that we have socially, or we're in a higher class now. But these are all creating attachments that we're making to this world, that if we hold them in our minds when we leave these bodies as that which we need, Krishna isn't going to keep us from our desires. We can have what we want. That's the problem. We're getting what we want, and what we need is something different a lot of times from what we want. And so that's why we have to purify the wants and to have a heart like Yudhisthira. He was one of the most valiant in the battle, and he wouldn't even speak a lie that would allow his enemy to become weakened, even given by Krishna himself. This is how duty-bound he was to truth itself. But Scripture says there's justification for lies in certain circumstances. If you can save a life with a lie, then it's justified. You can save a marriage with a lie, it's justified. So, you can save a battle. You can save a war. If you can prevent a thief from robbing you of your possessions, you can lie. So there are reasons to be able to have justification for lies under these circumstances. But even so, when a devotee does find himself, then he feels guilty. Then a devotee feels guilty, but the knowledge the Scripture gives relieves us of the guilt. And this is what knowledge is given for. You know, from one perspective, we talk about sin, right? The word itself in Sanskrit is translated directly as simply missing the mark. And there's descriptions being given by elevated sages that sin itself is a non-existent force that men create with their minds that judge them, that cause them to be judged. Their own minds judge them. And so in that, all these hells and everything else are a result of man's creating mind forces contrary to absolute truth. I mean, in a sense, there is nothing else but truth. And so we are in an imaginary world. This is a dream of Mahavishnu. Compared to where we came from, compared to the spiritual world, right? So it is for us now our reality, but our reality is the dream of Mahavishnu, who knows and has created the laws that exist of karma. And this is all, see, his mind is our reality, the thoughts of his mind. And this is how the thoughts of our mind are so powerful as to create the reality of our next stage of existence. That's what reincarnation is. And that's what Bhagavatam, that's what the chanting of the Mahamantra, that's what all this relationship with Krishna's eternal energy is helping us to become free from. All of our attachments to the material world, so that we can become truly free, get out of the material universe altogether, take a ride with Krishna on the back of Garuda. Read that in Bhagavatam and realize that Krishna is giving this to you as confidential knowledge that he only gives to those that he loves so dearly, like he loved Arjuna. That same message he gave to Arjuna in that form that he spent, all that time he spent with Arjuna before the battle is there open to each and every one of us. He's considering us that dear. He didn't give that to other people on the battlefield. Think about that. And they gained personal attention with Krishna. Yet he didn't give them Bhagavad Gita, did he? He gave it to one. He gave it to Arjuna on the battlefield. So dear Arjuna was to him. And now he's giving it out freely to us, to all of humanity that will take it. And how confidential and how much preciousness this is to Krishna himself. And so if we don't take it for what it is, it'd be like a slap in the face, you know. I'm being given that is most precious to God. And what will I do with it? That's what our life will say. That's the song of our life. What we do with what Krishna gives us. And that will be our life's song to Krishna. And if we can make most of it chanting, then it will be an eternal song. We'll continue singing after this life. With greater facility, with greater functions of the body won't be a physical body. We'll know what the spiritual body is like. So those abilities, those talents we're trying to perfect here in those forms of worship that we're taking in, process in, all those abilities will be even more perfected. So when you sing, you will get yourself such a joy and happiness and pleasure because Krishna will reveal to you the happiness that it makes him feel when you sing to him. See, he's wanting to give his happiness to us, and he's revealing to us how to do it. Now all we have to do is be happy about it. And know that we never have to, depart from it. Krishna's going to give us the ability. He says, he is the ability. Now, if he's telling us to do something, and he's the ability, we got no excuse. We can do it. You can do it. We can do it. All of us can do it together. It'll be a glorious experience. The most happiest experience human being can experience. Any comments, any questions, any realizations? We could have broken the Codicy at 7:14 and 7:19. So we're extending that hunger a little longer. All these things that seem going without food for a day is not really a big deal. We eat 3 times a day. For me, I eat 4 or 5 times a day, actually. 4 o'clock hour ring, I got 3 meals, but besides that, what are you going to do? So giving up one day is not really a big deal. There are sages, they go for 1,000 years in meditation and don't need to eat. But see, they gain the ability by having that mindset. Then ability comes with taking the responsibility to do what we see we have the ability to do. Then Krishna increases our ability to do that more perfectly, actually, as well. So the desire to do these things that we see this morning, I go out in the morning from last night, there's like a big table full of prasadam. And I'm thinking, how many kids in this neighborhood went to bed hungry and will wake up hungry and may not even have a lunch, maybe just have a breakfast or maybe an evening dinner. So many kids in this very neighborhood, Srila Prabhupada said, for 10 miles from every temple, nobody should be hungry. See, that tells us the vision Srila Prabhupada had and how he wanted one temple to cover the whole society for 10 miles. Now, where we are in Detroit is a little different to preach to these people because I tried to walk into a black church here one day. A person greeting people at the church said, "You won't be welcome here." Wow, because of the color of my skin, And so what happens in society, one part of society develops prejudices, then the other society develops prejudices against them for their prejudices. And then now they both have prejudices against each other. And they don't know it is the seeing of the unity that we have that will enable us to become strong people. That's what makes it. Just look at Ukraine, this little tiny country, south of Russia, this huge military force, and yet by the strength and determination of the people, of their wanting to preserve and protect their own societies that are simply functioning to provide the needs of their people, they're overcoming the powerful military force of Russia, which is one of the strongest forces in the world. And this little Ukraine, just a little tiny country, much like one of our states, the state of maybe Texas and Florida combined or something like that. And they're being taken over by a country bigger than the United States. Imagine that. And yet they're standing them off. It is by the will of the people, by the determination, the same determination we can use in our efforts to develop spirituality and the qualities of spirituality in our lives that it demands for us to get out of here. Krishna is that ability that we will find more and more as we continuously stay and progress on this path. There's nothing that can stop us now. You are on the invincible path of spirituality that nothing can stop you. Any comments, any questions, any realizations? Yeah, thank you. It's good to see you again. I hope, see, to me, family life means the husband and wife live together. And they're not 10,000 miles away from each other. So I hope everything is going well.
So are you going back to Arkansas?
So, Prabhu, I have a question. You said do more than what you ask for. Can you elaborate on that?
Elaborate on that? See, in one way, as a devotee, it's difficult because you're given responsibilities that you have to do. But you can do them as if, it doesn't matter if you do it well or not, just do it. Or you can put your whole mind and heart into it and do it to the greatest ability you find yourself capable of performing that. So, I look back on my own failings. I have failings too, I taught school. Our books were so complete. I never even wrote on the class book. The kids never asked questions. The answers were all there in these books, But I feel as though it was missing for me to not have developed some more of a rapport with the students. So, on the one hand, the kids got all the teaching they needed, but on the other hand, it was lacking on my part to develop the kind of relationship teachers and children should have with one another, Then in another perspective, some of them that did do that, and they got into, bad illicit relationships. So that's not good either. So there's protection there, and that's the completeness of Bhagavatam. It's all there, but there is need for the application in the present day and age. And that's a principle being given because just like we were studying yesterday, we're reading about the instruction being given about chanting Om. We're also given the understanding that Dhruva Maharaj was given by Narad Muni to chant Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. That's all he chanted for months. But after 2 months, he started seeing the demigods coming. They're coming and going. And you can't see them unless Krishna gives you the vision to be able to see them. And they're not these UFOs, flying saucers. Those are mechanical nature. But the ones that they're viewing Krishna's pastimes, they're riding animals. They're carriers. And they have abilities to go because they are qualified for those different dwellings. Narad Muni can go to any planet in this universe he wants to go by qualification, not by his own making a machine that he's going to jump in and pour the gas into that Vishnu's mouth's going to have to drink from that. It's not like that. So, but yeah, we do the best we can. And a little bit more. Right? Does that answer the question? Yeah. Jai. Grantharaj, any other comments? No. Grantharaj, Shrimadbhagavatam, ki jai. Srila Prabhupada, ki jai.